Good afternoon. I'm retired Police Chief David Alexander III, your candidate for Escambia County Sheriff. And first of all, let me just start off by congratulating all of the seniors, whether you be in high school or college, for accomplishing such a great thing as graduating here in 2020. Believe it or not, you have accomplished something that not very many people will be able to say they accomplished, is that's graduating during a time that finishing high school or college had completely changed because of this COVID-19 epidemic. So hats off to you, and I hope that the way that you may choose to celebrate will make you realize the value of your back in the day story, because you certainly have a back in the day story as to how you were resilient, how did you stick with it when things had changed abruptly. You didn't get a chance to go to your prom. You didn't get a chance to go to the Civic Center like most graduates would have done, but you stuck to it anyway, and you have graduated. So that's something to be very proud of, and I'm certainly proud of all of you that have accomplished that. But you know, talking about back in the day story, I have with me here a good friend of mine, Steve Johnson, who has worked with me over the years, and we've actually encountered a lot of things back in the day that really prepared me for my run as the sheriff of Escambia County. And also, I believe that he can attest to some of the things that would convince you that I am qualified and I can do the job. So Steve, thank you for being here with me today, and certainly to take the time out in your busy schedule to talk about our back in the day stories and how it makes this campaign a very relevant campaign for such time as this.
Yes, David. David and I started out a long time ago. We're not even going to say what years anymore, but a long time ago. I remember when we first came down as a cadet, and then got sworn in as an officer. And from there, I was one of the field training officers, one of the ones who went through the first group of schools that we had with several others. And they came on and went through the field training program. Then I became the field training sergeant, and David was one of the field training officers that worked for me. Then as time went on, things kind of shifted. I became a field training lieutenant. He was a field training sergeant, training all the new officers. And then he made captain just prior to myself. And then I made captain, then he made chief of police, and then I worked for David as he was the chief of police down with the city of Pensacola. And we had a lot of things to share, a lot of good times down there, and a lot of hard work. And we did do the police work from dawn till dusk, and all the different shifts we worked, rotating shifts and permanent shifts and a night shift, and all kind of things that what makes the law enforcement work we had down there. And like I say, I worked for David as he was the chief of police down there, and I directly worked and was supervised by David. And we did enjoy a lot of things down there.
Yes, we did. And and that's one of the, some of the things that we encountered down through the years. I use those things as they are relevant to the sheriff's department today. And my 4-star pillar principles that I'm operating off of is professionalism, integrity, fairness, and accountability. And those are some things that we both worked very hard from, even being field training officers and beat officers, working with the community and working with officers in the department. There was no time that we were soft on crime. A lot of people like to think that being a community-oriented policing department or agency means you're gonna be soft on crime. We had, and I remember you working the West Side, we had people that a lot of times they didn't come from the greatest background, but once they got it that, hey, look, I can work with these guys and my neighborhood stay relatively safe, or I can work against them, and we hit and miss about public safety. So just talk about some of the incidents that you remember, whereas we actually had better relationships with people in the community, and that helped us get our job done.
Well, the only way you're going to get any crime solved is if the community will talk to you, and you got to be fair with everyone. Even folks that violate the law, they understand what fairness means, and they understand when officers are straight up with them, and they know that they can talk to them. And a lot of times crimes would go on and would occur, when a lot of the communities, a little worried about saying something to the officers when they're present on the scene. But shortly thereafter, the phone calls would come in, and if they had good relation with the officers, as they did with David and I, you'd get those phone calls, and we would have the information we needed that we could pass investigations and then build on those cases. And that's just how the community interacts, as it is in Pensacola, as it is in Escambia County.
Right, and that fair and impartial policing is what fairness is really about, and certainly creating a fair and impartial environment inside of an agency is definitely important. And I remember also when you were our shift lieutenant, we were working the midnight shift, and we actually had officers that wanted to come to midnights because we created that fair and impartial environment, and officers were actually able to grow and develop into potential FTOs. And then of course, when the FTOs would finish, the trainees would finish, they didn't want to go on to other shifts. So that came from your leadership. And like I said, I remember being part of that leadership. And that's something I believe, when you create that fair and impartial environment, both for the officers as well as people in the community, I say it does nothing but help grow a more cohesive response to the community problem.
Yes, and then later on, when I was promoted to captain, and I worked for you, and you were the chief of police, we worked well together.
Yes,
and I felt I
absolutely.
could come and talk to you about anything we had, any issues we had, any community-oriented issues, and we could get the response we need, and we could discuss it. We didn't always
Right.
agree, but we could
Exactly.
certainly discuss it, and we could come to terms with it.
And that's one of the things about, even talking about professionalism, learning how to operate off of trusting relationships, understanding that we don't all have to agree on everything, but there are ways that we bring different things, different strengths, as well as different challenges to the table, and we can work through those to get the job done. And that's one of the things that I really appreciated about working for you, and then even having you work for me. I believe that if I asked Captain Steve Johnson or Lieutenant Steve Johnson or Patrol Officer Steve Johnson a question, I was going to get an honest answer. And sometimes that's challenging for professionals because they want you to agree with them rather than tell them what you really think. And sometimes going into battle, if you really don't know what the mindsets of people are that you work with, then it's really, you don't have a realistic expectation of what you can expect from them. And so that's one of the things I liked about you, and also you were that way with others, and that's why I think we were always successful in getting the best we could out of people that work for us.
That is correct.
Yeah,
And we worked with a lot of good folks.
Yes.
A lot of good folks still down there. Some of the ones we personally trained are now in those key positions.
Those key positions.
And that's just how it is, and that's the way it should be.
And
you train your replacements, basically.
Exactly. And it was done with the integrity that the rules weren't going to change. I think that's something that citizens as well as officers are always concerned about, is sudden change of the rules or the appearance of a double standard, and that's where the integrity of what you're doing has to be able to stand on its own. And that thing about accountability, and Steve, I remember times that we had discussions about trainees that, they weren't cutting the mustard, so to speak. They didn't meet the standard, and you had to hold them accountable for that. And you probably remember these too, but there were guys and girls that would come in that say, I appreciate everything you guys have done to help me get through this training period, but I realize that I'm not cut out for this job. So accountability is important because it keeps everybody at an acceptable standard of performance, which I believe is something important to the community.
That's correct.
And with people like you around me, it allowed me to retire with my head up high, feeling accomplished. And that's why I feel very confident with you working with my campaign that I'm on the right track, and I got good people surrounding me. I would get good feedback from people in the community. And I believe we have the heartbeat of the community where we can hear it. And that way, getting in that position, I feel confident I can be responsive from day one and really bring Escambia County citizens the type of sheriff department they're looking for. And that comes from very trusting relationships that are accountable, where it's fair treatment and integrity, is the order of the day. And I appreciate you doing those things while you were captain, and you should feel accomplished, because I believe there's a lot of good administrators out there that came up under your leadership that are very thankful for that type of leadership.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, absolutely. So again, this back in the day story is something that I believe it was worth sharing with you, because I want you to know I'm just not some guy that was just socially promoted. I came through the ranks, so I don't have the big billboards, and I don't want that. I'm not going to give you the gimmicks and the sales pitch, because professionalism over politics, I think, will win the hearts and the votes of Escambia County voters more than anything else. So I'm asking you to listen to what we have to say, and certainly we're not beyond being approached and questioned about something we said today, but it's to give you the greatest advantage of going in the voting polls in November and making an informed decision about the future of public safety in Escambia County. It's about safety, security, and services for everyone in Escambia County. And I want to do that for you as your next sheriff. So I'm asking you for your support. Please go on our website, davidalexanderforsheriff.com, and look at what we're posting on there. We'll try to keep you informed on the things even now that affect you, because that won't change as your sheriff. We will keep you informed on anything regarding public safety that affects your life, your quality of life in Escambia County. We will keep you informed as the sheriff of Escambia County. So thank you for sharing this moment with us, and certainly we will look forward for an opportunity to come back to you. But remember, David Alexander III, the next sheriff of Escambia County. Thank you.